I'm Noel. I'm the founder and director of my company, Noel McDermott Psychotherapy and Consultancy Limited. Short video today introducing a couple of Facebook Lives that I'll be doing co-hosted with ICAD Events on the 23rd of January and on the 20th of February. They're Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. UK time. Please come and join us. They have the overarching title of A Portrait of Family Dynamics. And there are going to be two sessions looking at that concept. And the first one in January, on the 23rd, at 8 p.m, we'll be looking at what we think a family is and how a family functions, what its purpose and role is. We're going to be sort of busting a few myths around the notion of family. So, for example, in sort of Western culture, certainly in the UK culture, often people will hold up this ideal of what's called the nuclear family, a male father, a female mother, and then somehow 2.2 children. I don't know how that works out. It's a sort of a mathematical formula. And that's what it is a mathematical formula. It's never really been the truth about families in the UK context or any context, to be honest. Sort of at max in the sort of 50s and early 60s, nuclear families represented about a third of British families, but we're sort of nowhere near that levels anymore. Families are much more mixed, always have been, actually. And if you think about it, Mother Nature would not have designed us for such a sort of weird setup. When a baby is born, it'll attach to anybody. Of course, if you sort of going back in time, childbirth was and still is in many places sort of one of the most dangerous times for a woman, for example. So if a newborn baby was only designed to attach to that particular person, then as a species we'd have sort of died out a long time ago, is the truth. So we're actually designed when we're born to attach to a number of people. It's a survival function. And then as we grow up, we're designed to form relationships to a large group of people. It is true that as a sort of a very young child is emerging, that having an identified primary carer, call that mum if you want, it doesn't have to be that word, but an identified primary carer for an early infant is a good idea. So again, in the first session, we're going to be looking at those types of things, sort of what is an ideal makeup of a family. I'm just going to say now, there isn't one. It's whatever works. There's lots of different sort of cultural contexts. So, but we do know that there are certain things that if you get right, sort of will make your relationships work. So in terms of families, which I think of as systems, if you like, if you can get the sort of things like the joint problem solving sorted out, so you work together on solving problems rather than turn that into a problem itself. If you can get the emotional climate right, so that it's loving and supportive and fosters attachment, which is oxytocin in the frontal lobes of the brain. If you can get that right, you're going in the correct direction. And then the organisation issues, which are really about role boundaries within families. What sort of roles are people taking on? Are they appropriate for the culture of those individuals? And do they fit in or not fit in with the wider culture? And what do those sort of tensions bring about? What's your understanding of how you resolve those types of tensions if they exist? And there isn't a specific set of cultural rules here, but it needs to be within the family, within the culture of the family, that people are comfortable with those roles. Again, you may have a primary carer. That could be male, it could be female, it could be one person, it could be two people. And indeed, it can be two people. These are roles, these are functions that need to be found. And, a primary carer becomes less important as the child grows up. So one thing a family can do is bring children into the world and nurture them and get them sort of moving on into their own life later on. But equally, a family may not. there are families where children are not part of the deal, and people are still sort of in a familial type of environment where sort of it's broader than just say one individual or a couple or etc. etc. So again, in the first sort of session on the 23rd, we'll be looking at all of those issues, and how sort of traditional families and non-traditional families work, what the functions of producing these groups, why do they exist? I mean, it seems to be something that happens across cultures, and the role of various generations within family setups. So not just maybe the couple, or if it's a polygamous grouping of people, but also then the wider network of people that are brought into, who may be connected. We can call them, if you like, aunts and grandparents, etc. And again, those are roles. Those are labels that point to particular types of roles. And again, those seem to be things that happen across cultures and across times. And it'd be interesting, I think, in the first session to have a chat about why they exist, rather than trying to set them in stone and say these are a set of rules, just to look at what they are there for and how they function in terms of the major role of groups, call them families, call them clans, whatever you want to call them, which is to maintain and perpetuate human society so that we as a species continue. And that's the core thing here, that these things have evolved over sort of many, many thousands of years in terms of how human beings relate to each other. And we are just social animals. We're better off in groups, and learning to navigate groups starts in this small family clan type situation. If you develop the range of skills there that are healthy and broad and flexible, when you move out of that situation into the wider world, you're going to be much more successful on so many levels. And there's a really core issue here about how we are encultured and supported to grow as complex sort of psychological beings that can function in the wider world. Particularly, I suppose, in the culture in the UK, which is a complicated culture. It's a post-industrial complicated culture where there's a lot of skills that we need, and a lot of different types of relationships that we're going to have to navigate. And we can think of a family in one sense as a sort of laboratory for us to try out all the sort of skills that we're going to need as we move around in the world around us, as well as hopefully being a place in which we feel securely loved. And that's going to be the key message about this. How do we get to a place where we have a secure sense of love from the people that are closest to us? So that'll be the first session, is looking at those types of things. And then the second session will be looking at what the types of problems a family, a grouping, a clan might have, and how we can go about putting those right and who might be involved. The issues are sort of complex these days, and it can't just simply be a therapist turning up and saying, okay, well, let's do a bit of therapy and that'll sort everything out. It doesn't. We have other legal issues to look at. We have safeguarding issues to look at. There may be mental health issues. You may need to bring in a whole range of people when a family is in crisis to support that family, and to create what I think of as the village around the family, because that's what's needed, and in sort of cultures like in the UK, that village now, what that looks like is a range of professionals who may get involved, from social services, if there's safeguarding issues, to mental health professionals if that's going on, or other health professionals if there's addiction issues, etc., etc., etc. This is what the modern village looks like from the UK context. And how do you as a family, how do we as professionals navigate those types of issues and sensitively bring the range of professionals in, what we call multidisciplinary team working, which is something that my company looks at a lot, and I have a lot of background in, is sort of navigating those types of issues and how you sort of manage those issues bringing people together so that they're all working towards a common goal with a family that may have problems or issues, or indeed be in crisis, so that you are supporting the family through the crisis into a more stable patch without sort of contributing to it. So that's what the second session will look at. I hope you find that interesting, and I really, really hope to see you. ICAD have set up a Facebook page, so Google that, and there'll be details on how to access that page. Underneath the video, we're going to be sending out a sort of email blast to everybody, and we'll put the links to everything on that, and it'll be underneath the video as well. So please do join us, 23rd of January, then the 20th, I think, of February. I might have got that date wrong, but there you go. But the information will be on the e-blast, it'll be underneath the video, so confirm all that stuff. Hope to see you. Come and join us, and I'd like to hear about your questions. And this is open to the general public, this is open to professionals as well. I'd like to really get a great dialogue going on around that. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks for listening to the video, and I'll see you in a very short space of time live on Facebook. Looking forward to it. Take care. Bye-bye.